When you hear the word velociraptor, you think Jurassic Park, right? The clever, terrifying, door-opening kind? Well, what if I told you that iconic movie monster wasn't a velociraptor at all? Not even close. Let's peel back the layers of Hollywood fiction to get to the fascinating scientific reality. So on one hand, you've got the movie star, this big, scary, human-sized predator. And then you've got the scientific truth, a creature that was, well, about the size of a turkey. Yeah, a turkey. And trust me, that's just scratching the surface. So in this explainer, we're going to tear down that movie monster and build up the real animal, bone by bone, based on what the fossils actually tell us. All right, first things first, let's talk about this Hollywood imposter. It's time to unmask the dinosaur that's been stealing the Velociraptor's identity for decades. So here's the kicker. Those terrifying creatures from the movie, they were based on a totally different dinosaur, a much bigger and, yeah, probably meaner cousin. We've all been calling it by the wrong name for years. But before we get to that whole identity theft situation, let's meet the actual Velociraptor. Okay, on to our next section, discovering the speedy thief. And our story doesn't start on a Hollywood backlot. No, it starts way out in the middle of nowhere in the Gobi Desert. You know, our picture of the Velociraptor didn't just appear overnight. It's been pieced together over almost 100 years. It all kicked off back in 1923 when the very first skull and that signature claw turned up. Then, fast forward to 1971, something absolutely incredible was found. We'll circle back to that one for sure. And then, in 2007, a discovery was made that just completely flipped the script on what we thought this dinosaur looked like. So the guy who gave it its name, Henry Fairfield Osborn, he took one look at the fossils and knew exactly what he was dealing with. He mashed together the Latin words velox for swift and raptor for thief. And boom, Velociraptor. The speedy thief. I mean, come on, that is just a perfect name, right? It just screams fast, agile hunter. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. Section 3, Anatomy of the Real Hunter. We're going to build this thing from the ground up, using what the fossils tell us, not what a scriptwriter came up with. Okay, first thing we gotta tackle is size. So, you know that 6-foot-tall monster that's eye to eye with the actors? Yeah, throw that image right out the window. The real Velociraptor was about 1.6 feet tall. We're talking the height of a big turkey, or maybe a coyote. Not exactly a towering movie monster, is it? And get this, it was super light, too. It only weighed around 15 kilograms. That's about 33 pounds. So this thing wasn't some heavyweight brawler. It was a featherweight sprinter, built for speed and agility, for quick little strikes, not for busting through kitchen doors. But here's the real mind blower, the thing that completely changed the game. Feathers. Yep, you heard me, feathers. Back in 2007, scientists found these little bumps on a forearm bone called quill knobs. We see the exact same thing on birds today. It's where their big feathers anchor in, and that was the smoking gun. It proved velociraptors were covered in feathers. Now, they couldn't fly, but the feathers were probably for show or to keep warm. It's one of the coolest pieces of evidence we have linking dinosaurs straight to modern birds. And that famous sickle claw, you know, the one they used to disembowel their victims in the movie? Well, the science tells a totally different story. Think less like a knife and more like an eagle's talon. Just like Dr. David Bunton says here, it was all about gripping and pinning prey down. It was a stabbing weapon, not a slashing one. Still pretty gnarly for sure, but a completely different hunting style. And the rest of its predator toolkit was pretty impressive too. It had this long, narrow snout packed with dozens of sharp, serrated teeth that curved backwards, perfect for getting a good grip. And intelligence? We're talking probably on par with a modern cat or dog. So smart, yeah, but not some kind of evil problem-solving genius. And here's a cool detail. Those big, bony rings they found in its eye sockets, that's a huge clue that it was probably a nocturnal hunter, doing its work in the dark. So we've rebuilt its body, but what about how it acted? I mean, that image of the raptors working together, hunting as a coordinated pack, it's one of the most famous scenes in cinema history, but was it real? This really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Did these little turkey-sized predators really team up like a pack of wolves to take down bigger animals? Well, based on all the evidence we have right now, the answer seems to be nope. Sorry to burst that bubble. You see, unlike some of their bigger cousins, Velociraptor fossils are pretty much always found all by themselves. We just don't have any bone beds of them grouped together, and that's a really strong indicator that they were solitary predators, going it alone. And if you want proof of that solo hunter lifestyle, look no further than this. This is the fighting dinosaurs fossil, and it is, without a doubt, one of the most amazing fossils ever discovered. It's a snapshot in time. You have a velociraptor locked in a death match with a protoceratops. The raptor's claw is plunged into the protoceratops's throat, but the protoceratops has the raptor's arm clamped in its powerful beak, crushing it. And then, in that exact moment, a sand dune collapsed and buried them both, alive. It's just, wow, a perfect dramatic picture of a lone predator taking a huge risk. Okay, so if the real animal was so different, then where in the world did the Hollywood version come from? Why do we all have this picture of a giant, scaly, pack-hunting monster in our heads? Well, here it is, the big reveal. The Velociraptor from the movie is actually a dinosaur called Deinonychus, a much larger and honestly more intimidating cousin. The whole mix-up started in the 80s when one paleontologist suggested grouping them together, and Michael Crichton, who was writing Jurassic Park at the time, loved that idea. He kept the name Velociraptor, because, let's face it, it sounds cooler, but he based his creature's size and behavior on Deinonychus. The funny part is, by the time the movie actually came out, scientists had already changed their minds. But it was too late. The Hollywood legend was already out of the bag. So let's just run it down one last time. Fiction versus fact. Hollywood gives us a man-sized, scaly-skinned pack hunter with a slashing claw. Science gives us a turkey-sized, feathered, solitary predator with a gripping claw. Literally every major detail from the movie is a myth. So I guess I'll just leave you with this. We lose the Hollywood monster that can open doors, but in its place, we get this incredible real-life animal, a feathered predator that stalked the night and got into these epic one-on-one battles in the ancient deserts. So my question to you is, which one is actually more fascinating, the movie monster or the real speedy thief?